Hello, this is the Upper Deck for Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Chris. That's Lynn. I should have said that's Lynn. I don't have a good sense of direction. And there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to rant about. So buckle up.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
Hasn't been the week we want.
This was not, as Joe Girardi would say, not this week was not what you want.
Not what you want.
So we're mourning. I am the loss of Monty. He's been my favorite pitcher on the Yankees since he was, since he came up. Since I was aware there was a Jordan Montgomery, that wonderful left-hander. So I'm mourning that loss today. I don't know when I'll get over that, Lynn.
I don't know when I will either, Chris. And, I'll admit that I was not a kindly mother superior that night. I may or may not have lost many followers. I don't know. So from a philosophical point of view, because I always wax philosophical and emotional first, because
Right.
That's the heart of a fan talking. You have a career Yankee who all the numbers show was performing certainly on the level of his cohorts in the starting rotation, if not better than some that keep getting opportunities.
Yeah.
Herman. And at 0 hour, because another trade you were counting on fell through, that would have included allegedly Glaber, which would have been a whole other hoo-ha. Monty's called into the office at 11:30 into Boone's office with Cashman on the speakerphone, telling him, that is a really bleeping way to do that to somebody who's come up through the system and is performing and contributing to the team, and all for that calculated risk of bringing on Bader. So
Yeah.
and I have to give my hats off to Samantha, Ziggy, XIGGY, and Samantha. I'm sorry, I don't remember the rest of your handle, but it's the only time I laughed during a game all week, because she said the Yankees traded Monty for a boot.
Oh my God.
And so, Samantha, you win Tweet of the Week. Perhaps even the month. It's funny because it's true.
It's funny because it's true. Yankee fans are baffled. I think that we, and I don't speak for all the Yankee fans, but just looking around Twitter, etc., it appears that the philosophy is, and Jack Curry tweeted this, and from Brian Cashman's comments, his press conference, that Montas, and moving Monty were intended to as postseason, looking forward to the postseason setup. Apparently, the Yankees see Cole, Montas as their 1-2 in a postseason series, and then they will fill in with the rest of the pitchers, whoever is pitching best at the time. If healthy, Severino could even push Montas conceivably out to a number 3. And then Jack Curry finishes up his tweet, but the rotation is stronger today than yesterday. And I just blow. I blow when I see that, because I know that he is spouting the party line. That is what Brian Cashman gave us as an explanation. And yet, the result was we got our butts handed to us yesterday by Monty.
Right. And that was like a major, to Cashman last night. And I felt no guilt being happy about that.
Yeah.
Um,
No.
Again, as you know, based on what I just said. Um, but you know, and I respect everything that comes out of Jack Curry's mouth.
Yes.
And you're right. You know, he's speaking fact based on, you know, facts according to Cashman. But if this is a calculated risk of any kind, I've never been a math girl. I've shown it on this show several times. Um, I don't understand that formula in this situation at all. Um,
I mean,
and
there must have been a way to acquire Bader if he's was the Cashman's heart's desire. Did it have to be a a pitcher out of the starting rotation? Is that what it took to get Harrison Bader? I mean,
yeah, and again, that's part of the calculated risk that, you know, the best teacher in the world couldn't explain to me. Because yes, he's in a boot, and now I can't say that without laughing. Thanks, Matt. But there's no official timeline, guaranteed timeline on recovery.
no.
And to say that, you know, they expect him to be in the lineup for the postseason is not you know, an accurate expectation or anything we could rest on. We
Right.
hope that's true.
Right.
But you know, and what people kept adding me about on Twitter was, you know, during my tirade, whatever night that was, it would have been Tuesday night, obviously. You'll be eating those words when you see Bader on the field. You know, like he's descending from a cloud with halos of light and aura around him. And I hope that to be true.
Yeah.
But and I hope that he's with us in the lineup postseason. But we gave away a stellar guy on that risk.
Right. And it is it's as if we've clinched a postseason berth, that to have Cashman and talking that way about the postseason. I mean, it's not that I doubt that we're going to the postseason, but I doubt that we can win in the postseason with the roster as it's currently constructed. I mean, is Bader that difference maker? Is Montas, we hope, that difference maker? Because certainly our postseason now is in their hands, because Cashman has made those trades that important to, right, giving the Yankees the edge, the advantage that they needed to get over the top for this postseason run, for
Right.
this end of the season run toward the postseason.
Right, 100%. And to what you were mentioning came from Curry, came from Cashman. To, you know, to wait and see on, you know, the rest of the rotation and cherry picking who they think has been performing the best at that moment has me uncomfortable. And, you know, because we have seen that, you know, I worry that Herman would be the first consideration for cherry picking, first of all. And, you know, and so I really hope that he calculates correctly and accurately when making those choices, because Nestor over Herman always, first of all. And, you know, I understand that Tyone, you know, comes with his own set of minor concerns, and I consider them minor compared to Herman. But again, I'm not in Cashman's mind and don't understand calculations, even if they were taught clearly to me. So it makes no sense, except for the fact that if what was meant by that was it'll depend on the team they're facing and what the stats show of a pitcher's history against that team, etc.
Yeah.
Then it makes sense. But
well, this trade season was certainly a very stark lesson in Yankee philosophy, because Bobby Malone, at Bobby Malone 29, tweeted out that it's clear Hal/Cashman are not spending on top free agents anymore. It might be clear they are not trading top talent for high-end players. And then he says it will be clear October will be a crapshoot again, maybe with a few rentals. And there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to hope it turns out good for us. But that is what I think is becoming the Yankee way.
Well,
I mean,
go ahead.
we didn't get Machado. We didn't get Harper. We should have learned these hard lessons. I mean, Cole, yes, we did. We got Cole. But if we're not going to have a team to put around him, or even a pitching rotation to feature him in, that's a winning rotation. I don't know. I'm just ranting, but
no, I mean, and that's part of what we do here. We're fans.
Yeah, we're fans.
We're fans. I don't profess to be an expert, a baseball expert. Yeah. So this is all coming from that perspective with a little bit of, numbers to throw in. But yeah, I mean, the trade deadline. This was the most emotional I've been, for a trade deadline in a while.
Yeah, I was definitely disappointed. Montas was the high point. I can't wait to see him today. I'm very excited to see Frankie Montas on the mound in pinstripes.
Yes.
So, I guess we could focus on that as we, are mourning the loss of Monty. But again, it better be right. Cash is calculated risks better be right.
That's right. And directly related today, they better be Wainwright.
Yeah.
Because that's who Montas is facing today.
Yeah.
And so, Montas's first appearance in pinstripes is going to be interesting and hopefully successful. So I'm excited too.
Yeah, I mean, we need a win today for sure. And, luckily we're facing Wainwright. So that's nothing like a difficult task or anything.
No, not in the least.
So we've got our work cut out for us for that. And the Yankees have lost 15 of their last 24 games. The bullpen is, and now these are old numbers. This is from Brian Hoke.
Well, the 15 and 24 is correct, but
that's correct. But I don't know about this bullpen number for sure. But the bullpen is 4-10 with a 3.93 ERA in that span, while blowing 5 of 9 save chances. So we need. I mean, Clay Holmes.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Right. And that was from Brian Hoke, by the way. And
Brian Hoke.
So, Holmes is human. We've said this about other players, and perhaps he's in a little bit slumping and has to figure some things out and make some adjustments based on the teams he's facing. And I think, speaking of the bullpen, we got a small view shot of Trevino last night, who, again, because Herman was pulled out, fairly early yesterday. We'll talk about Herman. Trevino looked good. He got himself out of a bit of a situation, but a solid half inning from him. It was only a half inning. Yeah. But perhaps that's all part of the calculation, because we did run through the laundry list of bullpen that it was Smalt, but he said that this might be what we're seeing, for the duration.
Right.
Is just this dizzying, rotating, revolving door.
Yeah. Well, and the Yankees picked up, is it Scott Effross
yes.
from the Cubs? And I did look up from Fangraphs some interesting things about Effross. Since his 2021 debut, he's been one of the best relievers in the game, which I did not know his name, and I'm surprised to hear that and thrilled. In 57.1 innings, he's compiled a 2.98 ERA and a 2.45 FIP. He's striking out 29% of opposing batters and hardly walking anyone. He's a side armor. He's got, let's see, a sinker, a slider, and break the glass in case of lefty changeup. And this, as I say, I got from Fangraphs.
Okay.
So, and clearly the Yankees needed more relievers, and we, with Mike King out, Chad Green, we're supposed to get Zach Britton back in, I think, a week or so. I was just reading an update on him. And Lynn, what are you thinking about Aroldis Chapman these days?
So, at least this past week, Chapman has been looking better. I would say, not the Chapman we want yet, or the Chapman we had yet, but at least comparatively, in two abysmal series, one of which is still in motion, he has looked like he's made some adjustments, and looking better.
Yeah,
sure.
And we obviously need that to happen because Holmes is faltering. So it appears that maybe they'll. Well, I saw that Holmes came in the 8th the other day, and he still didn't have any luck that day. So I guess he's going to get the lower leverage jobs for a while, and perhaps Chapman will get the 9th inning back. At least that appears to be what might happen.
Yeah, certainly about, everything that seems to be in Cashman's mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention, and I forgot when we were talking about the pitching and the everything, but Severino this week was reported by Brendan Cuddy to be very unhappy with his situation. The Yankees put him on the 60-day IL, and he was not happy about that.
Right. Because he knows the underpinning of that is they made room in their roster, and extended it for that purpose as well. And I don't blame him. No. I do not blame him, but they don't care.
No.
And what does that mean about when they do call him back up? If he, works out to be that, 4th guy,
right?
When we make the postseason, is he going to really shove? I don't know. After being treated that way, I would hope so.
If Sevy comes back mid-September, what is that? 2 weeks of games left? How many? Right. Two. He would get two before the postseason.
Right.
He'd get a handful of starts basically, and then he'd be supposedly in the postseason, and possibly even taking Montas' spot, according to Curry. I don't know. It's all crazy talk.
Yeah, and you really can't predict that. And
no.
I don't see Montas any different than Cole in that I don't think they're going to be at risk of ever being pulled from like the 4-man in the postseason. Like they're solid, and I would pray that Cortez is the solid 3rd, as he should
pray.
And then, then we'll see in terms of the rest, and just pray that it's not an automatic Herman.
Right. The Yankee slut had this to say about the situation. She said, the Yankees have slowed it down from a managerial standpoint. They aren't rushing Sevy or Stanton back. The second Rizzo expressed discomfort, he's out of the lineup, and Nestor goes short to stay fresh. They yanked Nestor early.
Right.
And she says, now all this is good, but it will reflect in the results. It can reflect subconsciously in the team. If there isn't a sense of team-wide urgency to win, the players will feel that too.
Right.
So if right now, if Cashman is sending the message that the urgency is 2 months away, what incentive is there right now for player? How do players hype up now?
And that sort of brings us right to the standings, because we aren't
Yes.
seeing the fire.
Right.
And I'm going to keep using that complacency word every episode unapologetically
Yes.
until it's no longer true. But, 2 games is not a lot of loss, you know, from a high view. But, we've been consistently 12.5 ahead in the standings
Yeah.
until recently. And we're down to 10 and a half. And so, and by the way, with last night's loss, we're only still at 10 and a half thanks to the Blue Jays who also lost last night. So, thank you, Toronto. But that's a concern. And I imagine that some of the people on Twitter may not agree with me being that concerned. Excuse me a moment. um, so early on, but the opening day was not early on. We can't think that way.
No.
Playoffs are yesterday. They started yesterday in my mind.
Yeah.
And so we can't be comfortable with, a 10 and a half game lead when we know that everybody else that hasn't been resting on their cloud is kicking it into high gear.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it. And knowing that we're facing Seattle again, who swept us effectively, and we shouldn't have been surprised by it. We're facing them next, and then Boston will have will have started with them before we record next week. And it doesn't matter that Boston is, our basement dwellers right now. They, what they do anytime they face us, and we're doing it at Fenway.
Right.
So no crying in baseball and no complacency in baseball ever. They have to bring their fire back.
Absolutely. And, Mike Scudero said basically the same thing in a tweet this week. He said something happened to this team when the month of July came in. And he said that something is mostly that our pitching took a hard turn for the worse, which I think that's an overstatement. I think our pitching came back down to earth a bit, but I think it's our hitting. I mean, we got shut out yesterday.
Yes.
Our pitching was superb.
Yeah, and that shutout was only, 1-0.
Yeah.
So it tells you that the pitching was good last night.
Yeah.
And I think Mike was, mostly right, and I agree with you on that point. But like you said, it's more about the offense and the defense. Because, some of the sloppiness continues.
Right.
It certainly was evident in the Seattle series.
Yeah.
A bit better, with the Cards series, but the Cards are outplaying us. Their defense is fire. They robbed Carpenter of a home run yesterday. That Smoltz couldn't help himself. He always has to say, it would have been a home run, in Yankee Stadium.
Right.
And
Smoltz.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been a rough go the last week for our Yankee fans. And I remember last week I started out the show very excited. Wow, this team is amazing. They're so much fun to watch. Everything seems to be going right. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that. I'm so surprised that this week I'm actually, like crying my eyes out for Monty, and also for the fact that the Yankees have so clearly played their hand as to how they're going to run this team now and in the future, I assume.
Right. And
does this say anything about what will happen for Judge in free agency? Will they make that big offer? Will they reel the big fish in?
Right. And Judge has not exactly been executing with Seattle or more specifically the Cards, but his not performing at the top is not stopping his home run efforts at all. We continue to see that, and his on pace predictions is now at 66.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to hold on to. But you're right. Last week we were like, "What a time to be alive!
What a time to be a Yankee fan." Well, as any fan knows, you take the good with the bad if you're a fan. I mean,
Right.
You're not going to roll and, not watch the games, not root for Bader. Of course, I'm going to root for Bader when he's a Yankee. And I have no doubt that he'll be an asset to this club. But just the fact of the way he was acquired will never sit right with me. Okay, I should get off the Monty rant. I can't stop myself today.
I'm right there with you.
The Yankee slut, to finish off with what I was saying about her comments, these are some tweaks that she would make right now. Increased base running drills every day until the sloppiness stops. So base running, more consistent lineup orders. And you and I did not even begin to talk about the horrible lineups, like yesterday's lineup and the lineups against the Cards were not the lineups you would want to see.
Glaber, a cleanup? Really?
Go ahead. And last but not least, she said a broad review of pitch selection. These things could help, she thinks, to improve, what's been a slow start here, or maybe a meltdown in the second half. I don't know about that, but
I don't think anyone could argue what she said. Even the ones that love to argue, which is virtually all of us.
Right.
I think she's spot on, and those are the fundamentals.
Yeah, right. Yes, right. We're talking about fundamentals here.
Right.
Right. So, well, Lynn, I know every week you have a trivia question for us. And last week was Spencer the lucky. Who was the winner last week?
So Spencer was the winner last week.
Okay.
He's the one to beat.
He's the one to beat.
Yeah, be the first to buzz in, everybody, because Spencer's hot. So the trivia question of the week. Let me get to that right now. It's a goodie. What does Sparky Lyle, Wade Boggs, and Roger Clemens all have in common?
I love the question.
That is the question of the week. And as always, honor system, no Googling, no, phone a friend. And so use your knowledge, use your, best calculated risk of what the answer may be. That seems to be, all the rage lately.
And yeah, exactly.
Take a stab at answering
us. Calculated risk. All right. Well, thank you for joining us this week. It's been wonderful having this conversation and being able to rant and actually get out all my frustrations before today's game. So, go Yankees.
Yep. And let's hope the 4 train behind me is heading towards victory.
Yes.
Moving forward. And as always, you'll always have a reserved seat with Chris and me right here on the upper deck every Sunday, 11 a.m., live on YouTube. And please, go Yankees.
Go Yankees.